Well, hey everyone, I am here with Jazmyn Ledford for an All of Life interview. These interviews where we flesh out what it means to live all of life, all for Jesus. And today we're talking about Jazmyn's occupation, the work that she does. So Jazmyn, thanks for doing the interview.
Of course.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So my name's Jazmyn. I am a director of business operations at Arizona Soccer Association by day, and I coach soccer at night.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Would you say soccer is God's favorite sport? If you had to make an argument for it.
It's probably the best and the favorite.
All right. Well, tell us about your work. We know that we're called to image God, to reflect what He is like. Mm-hmm. As you're working, what aspect of God's character are you trying to reflect through your work?
Yeah, so God is relational and intentional about those relationships. And I think that as a coach, really, you're called to develop relationships with each and every player and be really intentional about those relationships. And I think that each player is different, just like we're all different. And each of us comes with a different story, a different background, a different need. And God meets us at where we are and what we need. And as a coach, I feel like I try to emulate that by meeting the players at where they are and what they need and catering what I do to them specifically. Mm-hmm.
So if you coach one player, you coach one player differently than you coach another player based on who they are.
Right.
And you know them distinctly.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Tell us about the brokenness, because it's good. Work is good. Yeah. Sports are good. They're a gift from God.
Yeah.
But every aspect of life gives us a lens into the brokenness that comes from the fall. Where do you see that in your work?
Yeah, so one of the things in my day job that I'm responsible for is a program we call Max in Motion, and it is for kids that don't have the privileges, that can't necessarily afford club soccer or can't afford to do some of the programs that a lot of us, had opportunities to do. So you see those kids through their applications, and in their applications they talk about what they need and why they need, and it's just interesting, and it's great to see where all these different players are coming from and how we can be of service to them and how we can help them get the opportunity to escape their situations by playing soccer.
Yeah. And so Jesus, He calls us to love our neighbors. And it's sort of implicit in what you were saying. But when you hear Jesus's command to love your neighbor as yourself, how does that play out in your daily life and your daily work?
Yeah, I think that when you're coaching or even in my day job as well, working with these different players, I think that trying to remember that everyone has a story. So I think as a coach, particularly, it's really easy to come out and yell and be mad and frustrated, but then you remember that there's a story for every single person and everybody has their own walk, their own journey that they've been through. And I think it's really important to love your neighbor, like to treat them like you would want to be treated. And I think that's something that's really important to remember. Especially in sports, because I think a lot of times we lose sight of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if people were to read some of the applications that you're talking about, what would they see that would surprise them?
The biggest surprise, I think, is kids applying for themselves, like 14-year-old kids who don't have parents, who are just looking for an opportunity to play soccer.
Yeah.
I think that's a really humbling thing to read, and to know that this kid is by themselves pursuing something to get them out of the life that they're in.
Yeah.
And I think it's great, and I hope that soccer is their outlet and their way out.
Yeah. What's your prayer for the kids, all the folks that you work with? How should we, as a church, be praying for kids in youth sports?
I think particularly in this season, praying for the ability to continue to do it, because it was really difficult for a lot of these kids who soccer is their escape, to not be able to play for the 6 months that we weren't able to play, I think. And then getting reintegrated actually was really difficult for them as well. So I think praying for the ability to continue to play and to continue to find peace and safety in sport, I think that would probably be the biggest prayer right now.
That's good. Well, you've convinced me. Soccer is a gift from God.
Definitely.
And your work is a gift from God.
Thank you.
So we're going to pray for you, and we're going to pray for others who do good work like you.